share.
Yeah, no,
share
I
the
share.
stream,
I
baby.
share. Sharing is caring, baby. Sharing is caring, and they can hear us. So.
Sharing the stream, getting it out there.
Good evening, chat. How are you doing? Let's get you set up over here. I am James, Girl Dad Gaming. We got Jay over here looking at his phone.
Checking out the stream. You guys should do the same thing. Eetherial LLC. I'm looking to see who's popping in. Hey, look who's popping in on the chat.
We got our new friend, Matt, our special guest tonight, Matt Woodham. Welcome him with
Thank you.
open arms.
Glad to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely.
No, thank you for coming.
While James is getting that up there, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge it. Look at the first person checking in on the chat there.
Hey, Chris, it's all right,
the
buddy.
The bearded wonder.
Thank you so much for
missing
popping
from my
in,
left
buddy.
side once again. Love you, buddy.
All the things, yeah.
Enjoy the family time going up there. You guys have a good ball. But we're very excited to have Matt here.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Pretty stoked. Gonna get into a little bit of conversation. We'll give you guys a couple more minutes to file in while this handsome guy's getting everything set up. How you guys doing? Justin, what's up, baby? Pimp.
Pimpin'. Justin Willenberg here as always. Thank you, Justin, as well. For
Good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
being such a wonderful mod. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
How interactive is the chat? Is that where you guys are?
It can be pretty
Goes by the day.
interactive. We do a little bit of talking and kind of give them something to start thinking about, and then they start jumping in. Obviously, with only the title of the episode this week that they've seen life as a transaction. They don't really have any context behind what that is.
Yeah.
100%.
So what we're here to do is to bring in some context and help them jump into the conversation as we get there.
So we are bringing the context.
Yes.
That's interesting. I feel like we should reflect something like that somehow in the name when we come up with something creative.
Gosh, I wonder how that I wonder how that works.
We'll put a pin in that for later.
Yeah.
So we went with the idea in the title you guys are seeing down there. What's in it for me? Life as a transaction. We've got a lot to kind of get into there, but before we really do, obviously you guys notice our guest sitting to my left. And every time we have somebody new in with us, we like to throw it over to them, let them introduce themselves a little bit so you guys kind of can get familiar with who they are, a little bit of what they're about before we kind of start getting into the meat of the conversation. So, fire away.
Hello. My name is Matt Woodham. I met Jay and James at Stillhouse, Jay being my beer tender, and James through, oddly enough, a electric longboard, which...
Yeah.
You don't see that style.
Yeah, no, not
very
anymore.
often, not around here anymore.
And I even took it apart on stream here. So
that piqued my interest. A mutual friend, or friends now, acquaintance said, "All right, this is the guy." Pointed me out, and we started talking, and then I ended up here. So I appreciate the invite. About me, I'm a civil engineer, professional engineer. I have bachelor's and master's in engineering, a bachelor's in comm, and I just got an MBA, which I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. And I dabble in the YouTube realm.
I'm going to take
Right?
that over just
yeah.
There you go, brother.
I'm working on that part. So this is the first time I've ever been in an interactive scenario where other people that I cannot see.
Real quick, what kind of YouTube dabbling do you do? And go ahead and shout yourself out.
Yeah,
man.
that's what we're here for.
We have the channel Electric All Wheel. We also have the website electricallwheel.com. I'm sure you can understand that I rode an electric vehicle and I can't believe it felt like that feeling.
Yeah.
I rode my first electric bike and got the bug. I know there are a lot of people out there that have the same feeling. And it's a whirlwind trying to get into that industry, or at least just trying to pick one out for yourself because there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
and then you get into the how much money do I want to spend, and it turns into this tornado and a rabbit hole all at the same time. I went down that DIY route, and then I knew that there was information worth sharing. And then that opened up a whole other learning curve in terms of doing what you're doing here, right?
Yeah.
And trying to get that message out, figuring out the best medium, and then understanding how you can balance the transactional part of what that does for you and keeps you motivated to go.
Well,
Absolutely.
even in what I do here, you have to make a little bit of something in order to have the business work.
Yes.
It's got to be a business, right?
Yeah.
In order to be a business, it's got to be a business first, 100%.
And you have to make transactions, and some of them are monetary transactions. Some of them are physical transactions.
Speaking of a physical transaction, we're getting a little bit of a review already of you being in here with us. You see what Tim sent there to you? Just got here and I'm already overwhelmed by the sexy. So apparently you're being very well received by the chat. Tim, we appreciate you, brother. Justin's always looking out, keeping the reins on the conversation. But Tim, yes, the sexy is overwhelming here.
Great.
So those transactions are already happening, right?
I worked hard on this.
again.
Tim showed up. Tim made the investment of his time, and he already got paid off with a little bit of eye candy. So you're welcome, Tim, and we appreciate you, brother.
I'm here for everyone.
Matt said he's here for it, baby. Go ahead, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I said what I had to say.
But you're absolutely right. We have a natural amount of, just like the title says, right? What's in it for me when it comes to most things? And it implies this transactional nature to most of our interactions, even sometimes with family, business, professional relationships, everything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about something as simple as, in regards to family, Tim, love you, brother. In regards to family, when we start getting into that transactional nature of things, right? Like those of us that have a partner at home, I did this, my partner hasn't done that, right? Or I did this and they didn't notice.
I think the biggest one is that I did this and they didn't notice.
And they didn't notice,
all
right?
Of it. Even a roommate, a partner, a loved one.
It's a big one.
All of it.
It's
Anybody.
a big one.
It's that little bit of recognition goes a long way.
Absolutely, it does. So when we start looking at the motivation, right, behind our actions, whether it's in the business world with that transactional motivation, right? If I go to work, if I work really hard, I'm going to get the raise, I'm going to get the promotion. If I give output X, I will receive gift or compensation Y, right? And that becomes the motivating factor to those actions. And then that whole thing kind of spills over into those other aspects of relationships. Even sometimes I find myself as a father and girl dad, being a dad, you probably do it a lot too. I find myself reinforcing these kind of things with my kids sometimes with bribing them to do stuff, right? I do that all the time.
Like, talk to me about that.
Oh.
Give me the best one. What's the one that hands down works?
Every single parent knows how to bribe their kid, right?
If
Mine is highly food
I'm
motivated.
having that violated thing, right? Because I feel I don't have kids.
Okay.
As a father, I would never ever.
Oh,
that.
please.
Please.
Yeah.
So-
Right. until
we're doing it.
until after the third or fourth conversation within like a 3-minute period of why you need to do what I'm asking you to do, and you lawyering and lobbying and basically filibuster and telling me why you're not going to do it, then the bribes come out. Okay, cool. Listen. Maybe it's tablet time, maybe it's a piece of candy, whatever it is.
Anything
I'll
that will
watch
get
Paw
them to
Patrol
do
and not complain.
Anything.
There's
Whatever it
nothing
is.
that describes a transactional relationship.
Right?
A parent and a child is such a transactional relationship, and most of the time, it's a disgruntled customer screaming at customer service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
almost all the time, because that's just how many times do you have to tell a young child no inadvertently? Like, you don't even mean to.
It's one of the first words that kids learn when they're in their development stages.
Yeah.
Is because they're constantly in that exploration phase, right? They're touching and getting into stuff and climbing and walking over and doing this and doing that. No, stop. One of the first words.
Killing that anticipation.
Yeah, you're killing their creativity. It's one of the first things they actually learn, and it's wild, and it's one syllable. It's real easy to say. It's the same in a lot of languages. And it's the first thing that kids learn. It's a really wild thing when you think about that. Maybe even going forward, how limiting that could be to the development.
Alaska has made an appearance. So right there, yeah. Thank you.
On the note though of kids and their in that attribute that they have with the word no and it being the first thing they learn because of their exploration, it's also the first thing that they teach their siblings.
Oh, sure.
It's just to use the power, right?
Absolutely.
Because they've seen, they had their parents and what that they want to feel powerful over another
Absolutely.
person or kid, and so I think that's the first thing that they also pass down to their sibling.
We could probably do a whole episode just on that in general.
Yeah, we probably could.
Because there's I don't want to imply that teaching a kid no is a bad thing, because there's a lot of different ways and reasons why that becomes a very powerful, empowering tool to the person, learning how and when to say no. So we could probably spend a whole hour just on that in general. But kind of getting back to what we were talking about with that whole transactional, nature of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to scroll back up here because we got a lot of good ones. I'm going to skip over Justin because I'm a little disappointed there, but you're not wrong. Chris Murray checking back in. He said, because I said so. Listen, the bribes come in because my kid's a lawyer, man. Tracy D popped into the chat and said she's a negotiator. Listen, this kid could probably talk a terrorist with a bomb vest like off of a building. She is...
And getting her away.
Yeah, she is just deadly. Like, if she put her mind to it, she could probably be a very successful defense attorney. Like,
she knows exactly what she wants.
She knows she's ruthless, too. Like, she does not care, right to the goal.
So you're talking about how they learn, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how children pick up on that and they want to say no, too, to feel the power.
Yeah.
In the power, the transactional is one way.
Absolutely.
And so it's that feeling because there's no transaction, there's no receiving, it's a straight distribution of and it's self-gratification. I would think that is the want out of that whole thing.
So as a business owner, right, when you are setting up personal transactions, not necessarily even monetary, obviously pay or hiring somebody, or bringing them into your business, is that generally, you try and take advantage and get that person as transactionally cheap as you can, or do you do you try and give them, what they're worth based off of their performance?
So in that that is a straight transactional characteristic, and to say it in a condensed manner, I've been burned a lot. So I look more towards the relational instead of the transactional because I know that that's more meaningful. That's what I looked for from you, right? There was nothing on the forefront for me to even want to continue the conversation except the common bond and the thing, and that was the longboard, and then it went.
Yeah,
and we started talking
really
about
quick.
It. Yeah, and just and then it wasn't. There was no in there. Like, oh, this guy's not into this at all, right? It wasn't anything. It was just kept going and going and going, and in that way, it was more relational. And I'm comfortable at this point, even in the newness, to be like, hey man, I need a favor, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing I can offer you except I'm asking, and I think that. If that comes through, then it improves more the relational aspect instead of the transactional. So to answer your question, man, doesn't it depend? Right? You judge and you look and you try and figure it out. And I think once you feel the tinge of this isn't exactly the way I thought it was going to go, then you start moving more towards that transactional end, so you can quantify how it's going and see where they fit in some kind of numeric or scaled metric in your mind to justify yes or no, whatever yes or no really is.
Absolutely. So, and you hit so many beautiful points there, dude. Like the ability to be in that space, and I tend to get woo-woo. But it's all good. The ability to be in that space where you're able to meet James honestly and be open to just feel each other's vibe before you decide this guy can do this for me. I'm going to play my position, you know what I mean, to get into this spot so I can exploit this angle out of the relationship and get this out of it, whatever it might be.
It was the camera.
Or it was the camera. It was the camera and the skateboard. And him, same thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you guys both, again, approach that conversation from the what can you do for me perspective, none of this might actually be happening.
Yeah.
But you guys are able to meet each other in a social, hey, that's cool, that's cool, that's a cool vibe. I like what you've got going on, I like what you got going on. Clink a glass, let's have a beer. And the vibe's different, right? It's not that what can we do for each other, but it becomes more of an exploration of, hey, look, this is really awesome that we can do these things for each other. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being
Girl
something.
dad's
I'll
got to
right
be a
back.
girl dad. Pop on out, brother. It's all good.
So you remember that day?
I do remember something.
I remember
Yeah.
that it was such a good day, and for a long time there's been all this work, right? I have the day job, and then it's work on the other stuff. But things have been building up, and a couple of interactions with my partner Stephanie, and it's just been mounting to this serendipitous kind of actions and things that are happening between people. And you were there, but it felt like you were there and working, but it felt like you were part of it, right?
Absolutely.
And that it is that vibe, because those one-liners can be shared while you're walking off and doing something, and then I was like, skateboard, somebody, this person's, there's something here, right? You got to talk about it. And then the camera, and also the music that day, right?
That was our buddy Jason Freelo.
Yeah.
He's been on the show before. Shout out to Freelo Music.
They're awesome. Like,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And Freddie, what's up, Freddie? Love
And
you,
so you combine that, and you're like, man, the camera's on them. That's a nice camera. Whose
Yeah.
camera is that?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know what this
it's
is.
a vibe.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, I'm behind the bar, right? I'm pouring beers. I'm there with a transactional motivation, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the clock. I clocked in. I was there an hour before everybody got there to clean. I'm serving beer. I'm working. But at the same time, it's my fun job, right? And the motivation is what makes it the fun job. I don't go there thinking, how can I maximize dollars per hour while I'm here? Yeah. It's, how can I have the most fun while I'm here for the time that I need to be here? And that translates to you feeling like I'm part of the conversation that took place outside, right?
Yeah. And
having a really good relationship with our buddies at Freelo Music, and having a really good relationship with this guy to where, we're starting, raising money for kids charities for the holidays, and starting a podcast. All that stuff becomes available because of the approach of, I want to just be here for the sake of being here, to be in the experience, rather than I'm here to extract what I can out of it, right? So once we kind of circle back to talking about the transactional nature of stuff, just like we talked about with you guys in your initial interaction and bonding over the boards, right? If that approach is, what can I take away, that space for that opportunity of growth isn't necessarily there to happen, right? And we often find ourselves in this trap in the day-to-day of trying to extract from certain situations instead of approaching interpersonal relationships, business relationships, even, think about people that work by themselves and don't have a direct supervisor, don't have anybody looking over their shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, it's hard.
I've worked for myself. I've taken slack days before. I can easily say that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe if someone was looking over my shoulder, I wouldn't have. So if you really think about that, those are days where it's like, okay, I'm just here for the check, rather than I'm here to do the best job I can do. When you approach things from the sake of, I'm going to be as present in this moment as I can, or I'm going to kick as much ass of whatever this is that I'm doing for the sake of doing it, rather than what I can extract from the situation, I feel like it, just like within these personal situations, it can open up that space for opportunity to present itself.
I would love to interject right here, since I was kind of gone for a second.
Girl dadding. He was girl dadding.
I was girl dadding. Excuse me. You were saying that just right there, kind of go back for a second with me, and we were concentrating a little bit on the fact that the transactional nature of, like, help me out here. I missed what you guys were talking about.
We were
for a
just
second.
talking about in general how you guys met and the way the conversation was approached from a kind of a neutral space, right?
So
and then how when I'm working behind the bar.
This is how we lusted for each other
Right.
when we met.
Exactly.
It was lovely.
It was
Listen,
love at first sight.
beard grooming, all of it. So
Hey, listen,
and then I got back
just
to
okay.
how I working one day a week at Stillhouse, it's able to be my fun job.
Yeah.
And when I go there, again, not approaching from the transactional aspect allows for a lot of relationship development, stuff like this to happen, stuff like this to happen, because I'm not just clock in, get my money, clock out. Right?
Perfect. All right. So I think, you guys talked a lot about how your side of the relationship was when you met me, and we kind of really started talking about all this. And how the transactional parts of that relationship, and I feel like once we started talking, to me it was more about what can I bring to the table that can help both of us.
Yeah.
And like once we started talking about possibilities, then my mind went to
How can I help him?
what can I do to make what he's doing better? Like that was just that honestly that's just where my mind went to. The instant you started talking to me about the electric bikes and the skateboard thing, the instant you started talking to me about your gym and all the media and things that you wanted to do, and so as far as for me, it wasn't even necessarily what can you do for me? It was what can I do for you? I don't. So maybe I'm more on the giving side of the
That's
So
the
that
beautiful part of what we're talking about. Go ahead.
It might be. So a lot of people envision or think about transactional being like positive, negative, yin yang, right? It goes one way and then it goes another. But what you described to me is transactional, but on the relationship scale, because it's mutually beneficial, right? So you both gain. It's not like you're taking and the other person's taking as well, or giving. It's a give and it's a growth from that. And so when you told me the topic, or I saw the topic, I was like, oh, this goes hard, right? This can be...
We get into some stuff, bro. We get into some stuff.
We want intelligent. We want to pull things out, even the people that are in chat and from ourselves, because this is something that anybody can watch at any time. And
I'm glad you're saying that, because I want to address what you said.
What's that?
You said you take slack days. I think that's a social construct concept. The misconception of what you should be doing.
Absolutely.
Maybe the slack days are just the build-up days.
Oh, 100%.
Right? There are mornings when I know that if I kept up that work pace, I represent 4 people, easy, right?
Yeah.
Just in preconceived notions of manpower and getting things done. But that's because on those slack days, it's just roiling around in my head. And that's what I'm thinking about all the time. People talk to me, and I don't even recognize they're there because I'm doing it. Now, is that a slack day?
See, that is where I would actually agree and disagree, because those aren't the days I'm necessarily talking about. The days where I'm checked out is what I'm talking about, where I'm just there to get, if I'm working for myself, I find that those are significantly less frequent, those slack days, because even if I'm not physically present, what's happening? It's getting kicked around up here, right?
Negative in your head?
It's not negative necessarily. If I'm working, and Tracy, I know you're on the stream. There's a lot of times where I'm working up here, and just like you, and I have to apologize to her sometimes where she'll be flat out talking to me, and I'm just not in the room.
Yeah, you're not present.
I'm working, even though I'm not working. So I wouldn't say that that's slacking off. It's not necessarily what I meant, but I definitely agree with what you're saying, that the construct of work as a whole may not be a great example, but you kind of know what I'm talking about. The days where you kind of phone it in.
Checkout day, and you're doing it. So is that resting? Are you mentally resting? Are you?
I think you're physically resting.
It depends.
I think you're more physically resting than anything. So my old man does this, checkout days, and he never stops thinking about what his goals are and the direction that he needs to lead his group of people in. And that doesn't when you're in business and you're trying to lead people to be better, in life, even just in general, but especially in business, and all of that falls back on you. You're always in. You're always on, even when you're off. So I would say it would be more of a you're physically off. So 2020, 2021, weird year for corporate business. Everybody's kind of off because they're all at home doing virtual. Whereas before, he was doing a ton of traveling and going here and going there and, doing all that same interaction that he's doing virtually, he was doing more in person. And so those rest days are your physical down days. Because when you're talking about corporate world, so like for me, I was a mechanic. Like, my rest days were just, I lay on the couch and I don't think about nothing because I don't have to solve any problems. Mm-hmm. I don't have to, I can totally turn off. When you're talking about a corporate business head that has to make and plan moves way ahead in advance in order to see their goals come to fruition, it never turns off. It's always on. You're constantly thinking about what needs to be done, and so your slack days are your lay down and not answer your phone maybe but half of the time that it rings, or your emails maybe half of the emails. Only the really important managers that you really deal with,
But those are goals you set for yourself, right?
Sure.
You set that metric already,
Yeah.
and that is deal with it all.
And we can add another layer to that. If we kind of tie back into what we were talking about last week and roles, right, and our identity within those roles, that slack day could be represented by maybe not giving my best effort as a mechanic, but maybe I didn't take a slack day as a dad that day. Maybe I didn't take a slack day.
What's the most important
with
job?
my mental health that day, right? So who's to exactly say, to your own point, and I like that you kind of got me thinking on that topic. What's a slack day? Maybe I took a slack day at my 9 to 5, but maybe I kicked extra ass with my kid that day. So was it a slack day?
Nobody's giving you a 5
Right?
star when you're cranking out the work.
So just because I took off the coveralls that day, does that mean it was a slack day? Because I'm way more than mechanic, right? I'm way more than engineer. I'm way more than beer tender. I'm way more than martial artist. There's more. That role stays there, and hopefully we go on without the role, just like we've talked about last week, right? Yeah. So if we can kind of even keep that in mind too, then maybe there is no such thing as a slack day if we're still keeping growth and productivity and getting better is the forefront of things.
As long as you're moving forward, there's no such thing as a slack day.
Absolutely.
When you're like me, as a mechanic and a single guy who had nothing to do, I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. I could literally, on a day off, lay on the couch and watch TV all day.
Appreciate you, Chris.
Not think about a thing. Hey, 490 stars. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate that. That's a slack day. That's a I've done nothing. I've been
I can add the same layer to that though. Is it though? Because
100%.
But you also know that if you're dog shit tired when the work week starts up again.
Oh no, that was just flat out fucking lazy.
Okay, fair enough.
No. I'm talking. This is just
fair enough.
This is flat
because
out
as adults,
young laziness.
we still need our recharge days.
Are you
too,
trapped?
You know
Are you trapped in a single thought? Because I find myself on the days where like somebody from the outside looking in is like, oh, he's being lazy today. I may be trapped, right? Mentally just trapped in a single space, thinking about it and ruminating or going over it in my mind. Maybe not the business, maybe not. Maybe it's a personal thing, or
Sure.
I had a fight, or
Yeah.
something's going down.
Yeah.
Right. Illness in the family, and you can't move because that's what's on your mind the whole time.
And that's like those kind of things. There's nothing against any of that as far as you're not being productive. I mean, especially like a loss or you're processing some huge mental situation. That's gonna put everybody down.
The very first thing that I read about when I read about transactional communication was that it's interactive the whole time. So we may be communicating at the exact same time where vocally I'm speaking, but I can see on your face, perhaps you're sad. Maybe something did happen. You're communicating with me as I'm spitting it out, and I'm not getting that response that I thought I was going to get. If I'm a child, I'm just like, no, right?
Yeah.
But in another circumstance, I recognize that, oh my gosh, something's up. And then it changes everything. The focus of the conversation, where I was going to go with it, the perception of how receptive you are to it.
Yeah.
And so that part kind of, it gets
It's
me.
wild,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you're going to base the inflections in your voice and the next words that you say on those micro muscle movements that I see in your brow and your eye shift and all that stuff, right? Oh crap, I'm hurting him. I gotta, oh shit, he's getting angry. I gotta change what I'm saying. Oh crap, she's getting upset,
Is this going to be an awkward move?
Right? Yeah. Or, oh, it's sweet. She's going for it. You know what I mean? The first time you go for that move on a chick, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you have to make those adjustments on the fly. It's a great thing. I want to really quick catch back up on a couple of these, if you don't mind. But, yeah, Tracy D., you were talking about being in the zone. Yeah, it's not an excuse. I still apologize. But, you get that echo chamber sometimes, you know what I mean? Like you said, you get stuck on something maybe and almost to the detriment of what's going on around you. So it's not that we want to get away from it or ignore it, but obviously if our brain is pulling that much to it, it's something we need to work through, but at the same time maybe not get consumed by it, right?
Yeah.
And then Justin, being checked out most days, I love you, man. That you gotta find balance because you're here. So I don't know that you're as checked out maybe as you think you are.
What we need to do is
you're funny.
I would ask about that, right? That's are you
funny.
here and you're gauging that for other people?
Absolutely.
Are you on the checked out side? So it's to accommodate other people, because it sounds like you're not checked out.
He's not checked out, and he's gone through some medical that has definitely, that'll put a damper on anybody's mood.
100%.
Overall.
And we're glad you're still here, brother.
And
we love you, man.
So he's on that. We've been working for a while, which is why Justin's, one of my mods and everything. But we've been working for a while, a lot with each other, and he's helped me a lot with as far as just like regrowing myself, because I went through a lot of stuff, in 2019, 2020, 2021, till last, like really recently, things have kind of started turning around,
right?
And so it's he's on that path back up, and it's just one of those things where I think when he says he's checked out, he's just mentally tired of fighting.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and then like, from a medical perspective,
the fight is a different story altogether, brother. I feel you on that.
So like for him, like that's what I read from that.
Absolutely.
Which is tough. Like when you're fighting against medical conditions and things that are somewhat outside of your control, it.
Oh my gosh! So this hat, right? I'm in love with it.
This is the best
but
hat.
my cog on this side it's not as deep, right? On the 3D.
We like deep cogs.
He likes really deep cogs.
If I don't have a deep
I'm gonna
cog,
take a second to land on that one. Yeah.
We gotta have the deep cogs.
I don't know how a chain's gonna hold on to them cogs.
Okay, so
there's no teeth on that cog.
I want to say this. Right? His comment is, "I am checked out most days, but that's just how I have dealt with things." And that's the transaction, isn't it? You either you're in that space and you go over it and go over it and go over it and go over it. You do nothing else outside looking in. You're lazy. You're not doing anything. But that's not what's happening mentally. And I think this is the same thing you're describing. And it takes me, like, I still want to dive into that. Like,
sure,
let's discuss. But you're dealing with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the word. That's the part that sticks out. It's not like you're checked out. If you're checked out, you're just not dealing with it at all. But you recognize that is the thing that makes you move forward. It makes it possible to get there. So it just doesn't take you into a
It reminds me of the movie Baby Steps.
I've never seen it.
Never seen it.
It's a comedy.
Do tell.
It's a comedy movie, like therapist movie, and it's you have to watch it, but it's a personal therapy kind of thing, a person that is super introverted and just overall crazy, not like in a I'm gonna kill you way, just crazy in a they think everything negative about themselves or just very self-conscious and whatever in a personal way, in a relationship way, everything they're just
looking
just weird
through the wrong lens.
yeah, they're just weird, and the whole thing is about you gotta start slow and work your way up, and it's a movie. But
Absolutely. So Tracy D, a slack day for an individual could be subjective. We are the most critical of our performance, so our perception of a slack day could still be performing well.
Yes,
just not how we perceive it.
That part.
Yeah,
100%.
You're welcome. I don't believe you, right? There's no way. You can't sit in front of the camera like this. You can't keep doing all of the multiple things that you're doing and actually, what, are you not going to sleep? I mean, I want to be Mark Wahlberg, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I want the funky bunch, man. Where's the funky bunch?
Everybody else requires 8 hours,
Sure. No, that's a brilliant perspective and insight on, like you said, you're your own worst critic, right?
Yeah.
You also are your own competition. So as long as you're out hustling yourself the day before, you're probably winning still. You want to read a couple of these? Go ahead and slide on down, brother.
Oh,
can you read it on the screen?
I can. I saw Justin comment.
Oh, this was the. I think we can hit this one because I think this one we can know. But let's go to this one right here, Justin. This one.
So it says James kind of hit it on the head with explaining me checking out most days. There's a little more to it, but he is right in the ballpark, and that means that you're on point, right?
You're doing it, dude.
You're doing it.
You're doing it.
You're literally in the doing it.
Your checkout is just a description of the place you need to be to make sure that you're doing it.
Hey, do it, brother.
Yeah.
Do what you do.
And then Chris Murray. Go ahead and read Chris's.
Go ahead, brother.
Our own worst enemy, because we alone know how much we've sinned. Seeing the weakness of others and relating with them reduces the anxiety. Community is important, which is why church is super popular. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it speaks volumes to where we were at the day we met, right? Everybody there is on a certain wavelength, and they're not interested in any other thing. You're there for that release and that,
Yeah, I know.
I do. I get goosebumps when this happens. I get goosebumps when this happens.
You walk in the door,
look what
and
time
this
it
is where
I
you
get
are.
goosebumps when this happens. Oh, I love it.
I am I'm not religious in any way. I do understand the importance of community, and this feels good. It's nice.
Absolutely,
right?
man.
Yeah.
There's no stranger danger feeling. Right?
No.
It's not.
Yes.
It's just like
Well, there's
just chilling out, and it's nice to be around.
Vibing.
there's
people,
unconditional acceptance.
Yeah.
It's just it. You, I think, touched on it. Chris touched on it, and I gave you the arm tingles there because I love when these conversations come full circle, man. You guys are just so all over, just right painting the target, dude. It's that vibe, right? Why do people like church? Why do they like that religious setting? Why is this a vibe, right? It's that unconscious, I don't want anything from you. I'm just here for you, right? Like you talked about before. Just wanting to do something for somebody. Approaching him from a sake of what can I do to help this guy out versus what can he do for me, right? That's the same vibe people get from that sense of community. It's just people that have your back for the sake of having your back.
Yeah.
The reason that works and it feels so good and it has such a high concentration of fucking badassery is because it's not approached from that selfish transactional nature. That's a better way to put it, right? Because the transaction's kind of inherent, like you said, in a lot of stuff we do, but from that selfish transactional nature.
Yeah.
When those things are born from that space of giving for the sake of giving, right? Whether it's in the community, in the church, sharing your vibe, sharing a laugh with a friend, a joke, having a beer with somebody and having a conversation just for the sake of meeting them in a mutual loving space to just fucking communicate. Like, that's where the good growth happens, dude. It's so freaking awesome.
It's where personal growth happens. It's where life growth happens. It's where community growth happens. It's the whole reason I started live streaming. This is
just it.
I was I worked alone as a yacht mechanic. I mean,
Yetchit.
I worked for a company, but
Hashtag Yetchit.
I worked most of the time on the job alone, by myself, nobody around. And that was fine, because a lot of the
Do you
times...
think that's what that kind of scenario is what creates what Chris is describing as the anxiety? Right? You're in it by yourself.
100%.
So you just build it up and it's not really there.
Mhm.
All you had to do was reach out and say, cool skateboard.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah.
And
Literally it.
getting away from doing things completely for others and doing something more for myself and my family, or putting that mentality, that hat on, so to speak, that's what really, for me, is the direction that has pointed me where I should be. Now it's just about finding and fostering the relationships that continue to get me there.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
But
that's the double positive. Instead of the opposition, or we won't say opposition. I use strong negative words, right?
Yeah.
I find that I do. I'm good at the negative aspect because I feel it, but you're already doing what's best for you, but at the same time, as it would seem, you're also saying, hey, come with me.
But that's just it. The parallel, double positive, the overarching umbrella of the whole thing is when you're motivated without that selfish push behind you, without the I'm getting this out of the transaction behind you, it allows for that space to happen. It allows for my self-interest to be literally a deep investment in you being better. Not because I get something out of it, but because you get better. And by default, you're being better, and you're being better, and you're being better, and you're being better, and me being surrounded by all these really awesome people, what do you think's going to happen to me?
everybody gets better.
Product of your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo.
And it's really easy to become a product of a negative environment.
100%.
I think
Look
it's
around you
easier.
now. If you're in a bad spot, look at your circle. Look at the 5. We talked about this already.
Yeah.
Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and look at their scenario. I bet you probably won't like it.
I've changed a lot of the people that I hang out with over my lifetime and my lifespan.
Absolutely.
Because definitely
Hey, Vicky.
theories and minds don't necessarily align in as we grow as people.
Yeah.
Individually. And so
A lot of times.
So somebody that you had an idea with and that you grew up with or whatever, that you thought we were gonna do this, you never know. It could happen. It may not happen. You move on. You find new people, and
That speaks to your preservation of self, doing right.
You
What's right
keep-
for you, and then going forward. And
Yeah.
You
who
keep
picks
that
up.
core.
Staying on the path
Yeah.
of growth.
You keep that core for yourself, and that's where I've seen it. I've watched it happen. You look to your left there. I never have the door closed, but those are Inc. 500 lists.
Awesome.
That's number 65 out of 500 of the fastest growing privately owned companies that my dad and mom built while I was a young teenager, and I was featured in a staffing magazine because I filled out a card to win a truck with all their business information from one of the magazines, and they got a phone call like, hey, we want to feature you. How did all this happen? And you never know what little thing you can do. What little
Sure.
thing you do turns into something so massively huge without any thought to it at all. I thought I was going to get a cool truck, and I did eventually get
Sure.
a cool truck.
Yeah.
I still have that truck to this day. So I love that truck with my, every bone in my body. But that's what having a goal and helping the people around you, and as my dad says, let's have fun, let's put people to work, and let's make money. In that order. It's not let's make money, let's put people to work, and let's have fun. It's have fun while you're talking to people and doing business, and then make money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot of shortcomings when it comes to businesses that take that approach, right? When they worry about making money first.
Yeah.
and not having a customer that wants to come back and spend that money with them again.
That is a battle I fight internally, right? But the expenditure, right? The upfront.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a line where you stop getting taken advantage of, right?
And you continue to live like a student, right? I want to move beyond the ramen kind of feel.
Sure.
So then you weigh that. Therein lies the inherent transaction, how you deal with it internally. And so when you were talking about picking who you surround yourself with and what you need to change for the betterment, I took that part and I did it. I checked out. Right? I said, I'm checking out of here because this is not where I need to be.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of that. I miss some, especially certain people that did no wrong, but I knew that if I stayed associated with that environment, it's caustic for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's extremely toxic. It's not good for my mental state and what I need to be, to make myself better. And those around me. So,
and to go full circle with that as well, when we started this whole thing, you said you have been screwed, and so you're more protected, when you do business with somebody or you partner with somebody in a business because you've been screwed or hurt, and that was what happened to my old man, and so you have to take stock of, as you said, who you're bringing into that business relationship, and you never know. It could be many years down the line that they show their true colors.
Absolutely.
And you'll never know that until it's all happening and it's in the moment.
I think that's why it's best to not worry, right? Not get caught in the loop of worry, because you never know if and when that could happen. But the best insurance you can give yourself is acting honestly and earnestly, and from a place of being selfless, not to the detriment of your financials or hurting your company. Obviously, if we're running a business means it has to be profitable. Like keeping your goals in mind and all of that. You don't want selfish desire to kind of get in the way, right? To taint the pool. Once somebody poops in the pool, the poop's in the pool, man.
It's already
even if you fish it out, guess what? The poop's in there. We got to drain the pool.
Closed.
Pool's closed. There's a dance. Absolutely. There's always that dance to be had. We got a couple comments to catch up on.
Justin, the mindset I am in is if it is going to happen, it will happen. I have watched people come and go, have seen opportunities come and go. And I have also witnessed miracles. The days we have are not guaranteed, and live life to the fullest. I have cheated death 2 times. I have been through a lot. The 3rd time will probably kill me. Yes, as cynical as it sounds, it's true. This is where my mindset is most, if not every day. And James has helped me a lot with things and is a great influence on my mind. Suffering from depression sucks, and now I understand the depression side of things. And I've been going through depression. I totally can admit that for many months. Many times, a long time.
Justin, what do you like to do?
He's relatively immobile. Let's say that. He's working on getting mobile again.
There's a thing. There has to be a thing, right? There's always one. That you were talking about it earlier, checking out, right? For me, I remember I got a golf cart, and instinctively I want to wrap it all up in the business and do the thing, but hell no.
Yeah.
No, I was like, no cameras, no nothing. I'm going at it because I've never been on one before, so I just wanted to do it, and that was checking out. I ain't thinking about it. I know where the tools are in the toolbox, and I'm just gonna do it, and understanding the, let's say, physical limitations or where you are mentally, there are still blocks of things that you can do no matter what it is, thankfully, especially with technology now, that occupy your mind, right? Does it make you feel good? What if somebody was worse off than you, whatever that state may be, and you were able to help them? Like that's gratifying,
and so
and that's
somebody that's definitely far worse off than I am. I say it all the time. I'm like, most of my problems are first world white people problems. Like,
Sure.
That 99.99% of my problems are first world white person problems. It's just the reality of what those problems are. I'm not living in a hut fighting for food with 20 different diseases.
Absolutely.
That's just not the life that I live. So those are just not my problems that I face.
So that's a good one, right? There are two tracks you can take, right? If you're by yourself, you either take the transactional, opposition, the negative aspect, give and take, or you do the communal bond and then you survive together. Which is like, that's the whole premise of Walking Dead, I think.
Well, that's the whole premise of the whole premise.
Join
of
the
life.
clan and you get by. Find the good clan that benefits or makes you better. Or
you don't even have to go into a TV show. That's real life. I mean, in these third world countries and these places where people have never really visited or been, where there's tribes of people that have never seen anybody that is outside of their tribe. But for that community, that's how you survive. From the beginning of time,
as far back as we
together.
know, humans have been social. I mean, it's one of those
you need
things,
a group
right?
together.
all
to
the kids
survive.
have been saying no, is what I know. They're all telling all the parents. It doesn't matter what the circumstance.
There was one little thing I wanted to touch on real quick that you had mentioned about that gratification feeling of being able to help somebody, right?
Yeah.
And the receiving end of that transaction, and it is second to none. You know what I mean? When you can genuinely help somebody and help them get ahead, it's an amazing thing. But it's also really weird. And if you've heard this quote, forgive me if I butcher it before I get it all the way out here. But virtue that's aware of itself isn't virtuous at all. Meaning, you guys have all seen the person taking the selfie giving the homeless guy $1, right?
Well,
That's like the best example I can give, right?
We talked about something like a little bit earlier about this, that we touched on that. And
exactly. So that feeling of, oh man, I really got to just give of myself and help somebody today, doesn't necessarily come when the motivation's not right to begin with. So again, that, oh man, that was awesome feeling comes because you're acting out of that selflessness. You know what I mean?
Do you think that we innately need to see at least the reaction from others, or are you okay with, it happened, but you're not sure? Like, you can always question it.
I'm not willing to say in concrete that there's anything set or fixed. I will say that it definitely feels better when people appreciate things.
Good surprise, that nice gift, that thoughtful gesture.
And I definitely think that you could also condition yourself to not take it personally if they don't show the gratitude level that you thought you wanted. So I don't know that there's a straight way to answer that, honestly.
So when you were talking about all this in the very beginning of the live stream, it was that. And I have a really close friend who has discussed it with me over and over, and it's more about, it's been stated to me, and it's to deal with my own personal shortcomings. Is like, what do you expect out of this, right? And if your expectation is nothing except good for the other, right? And there's no, do you have to be acknowledged for doing the dishes, or did you just do the dishes so it makes it better for that person, right? And then you said, but it feels good to know that it's appreciated. So that takes me to when you do something for somebody, you want to get that feedback, because that it enriches you, it makes you, it validates.
But that's the question, right? Is it required or is it bonus?
Well, and I think this is the even bigger thing, is that who are you when nobody's watching?
Do you do it without?
Would you do it and are you the same person when nobody's watching as when everybody's watching?
Again, and if virtue is aware of itself, it's not virtuous at all. So if you would just do it because you would just do it, that's when these bountiful results start happening, right?
So
these core relationships develop.
That dead space, that trap that we were talking about.
Yeah.
What happens, I think I can attribute a lot of the way I felt, is what happens when you're doing that and you just want to do good for others and you get burned.
Yeah. real quick.
hard.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, everything that you've gone through and you trust and you know to be good and true is just like...
We got to have him back. We're going to do a self-preservation episode because this,
Oh, yeah.
and this ties right into what Chris Murray just said, our beloved bearded friend over there. I'm thinking 2 hours might be the ticket. You are absolutely right, dude. We could probably spend an
What time
entire
is it?
night spiderwebbing on all these
yeah.
different topics, but we got to have you back because I don't think that this is an all-encompassing philosophy, right? I definitely think that there's value to self-preservation because if you do all this at the detriment to yourself, there's nothing left at the end, right?
Yeah. That's the basis of survival. That's
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Chris, we definitely agree with you. The hour flies by.
It flies, but we have a few extra minutes. We'll kind of
let's
continue
catch up
going
on
through
some
some
of these.
chat. Why don't
Absolutely.
you go ahead and catch up on some chat?
Tim,
Yeah.
I can't say I have experienced depression. Maybe I have, but never identified it as such. I got 99 problems, and my kid is 78 of them. Listen, Tim, this is my opinion, and I don't want to say this to anybody to the detriment of their evening, I guess. But it's probably only your ego that's going to get hurt, honestly, if anything does. We've I think been in an epidemic of diagnosis in the last 20 years. I know more people now with anxiety issues than I ever have, and ever. And there are a lot of the same people that I've known for years. I'm not going to say they're right or wrong. I'm just saying we've gotten really comfortable with diagnosing things instead of fixing character issues.
Better living through pharmaceuticals.
I mean, is it that extreme? I'm going to take the other side on this one.
I'm not going to say every case.
What about the possibility
I'm not every
that
I
case.
love it. Let's
it
go.
gives you the opportunity to actually speak about it, right? If we talk about the generational run for the last 100, we'll talk Industrial Revolution to now. We're still talking about mass death, just like things in society and the global culture that is just like, what were they thinking? And building up to that, there's a whole lot of machismo rolling through every society. And we're now moving to a point where we are recognizing everyone. And in that, you were talking about, I'm not living in a hut fighting for food. No, now we're living in this first world environment fighting to really understand what the is going on.
Fighting to catch up on our credit cards.
But you're in the system, but
White
you're
person
still, how do you feel that?
Not white, but
That's an
first
economic
world, yes.
construct that happened in this whole energetic happening that we've created. But I don't disagree with anything that you said there at all.
no.
There is, I think, different layers to all these different questions. You know what I mean? There's a lot of... Man, there's so much we could expand on, and we're getting closer and closer on the time.
Let me put it to you this way. I want
Go
some
ahead.
people to
Go
be on pharmaceuticals. Right?
No, and they need to be.
Some people need to be on
let me be perfectly clear. With my opinion, I'm not going to speak for either of you guys.
Yeah.
In what I said, and I firmly believe that I still think there's an epidemic of overdiagnosis. I don't think misdiagnosis is the same thing. I'm not conflating the two. I think that there are these issues, and people have medical issues, and these pharmaceuticals are great innovations that have come up in medical history. However, I don't think everybody needs them. I don't think every kid that has problems.
You're talking about
You're
just talking about overdiagnosis and
that's exactly what I'm
part of-
talking about. That's why I said there's an epidemic of
part of
diagnosis.
That is, part of that epidemic.
Yeah.
If we break it down to what that epidemic is that epidemic is money.
Well, yeah.
They get money for prescribing as much of these drugs as they can from the drug companies on kickbacks and other things that are under the table. And then that's just,
Yes,
it
you're
is
jerking a
what
little
it
left,
is.
but
Like,
absolutely, yes. It's always money. It's always money.
It's
always money.
Money is the base of everything. I
always
don't mean
money.
to jerk the wheel left. It just sometimes.
Yes, it's
sometimes
always
you
money.
gotta-
It's always money.
Like a conversation like this, or an opportunity for somebody to speak within this time.
Come here, Sierra Ray. Come here.
Hi.
You're going outside to look at the stars.
She's singing her song.
Oh, she's singing?
Can I get a hug? You're singing. You want to sing to me? All right. Let me finish up, and then we'll be out there. Okay. I love you.
Daddy duty's called. Sorry, go ahead. Finish
Anyway,
your thought.
so let's
just went,
wrap up.
No.
Yeah. I'm glad he said it and not me. I don't have to be the bad guy.
That one scared me. I lost my
She came in like a T-Rex, dude.
You thought it was here's Johnny.
How many people are looking forward to Halloween, the fall setup?
Oh, I am.
You say that, and I'm like, the weather the past couple of days.
Oh yeah, a couple degrees off in the evening.
Very happy
Not
with the weather.
sweating when the sun's not out. Wearing jeans. I have pants
Very
on
happy,
too,
yeah.
right?
Very happy with the weather.
Going outside before sun up and it's like 95 and 100% humidity. Even though I've lived in Florida my whole life, still not fun.
Florida, I love you, but this isn't a good
Still
transaction.
not fun. Still not fun.
Yeah.
Bad transaction.
All right. I think I'm going to apologize for not getting to everybody's comments. But one thing I do like about tonight is that chat. You guys crushed it tonight. You were interacting with each other. You were interacting with us. You guys are what make this show happen. So I appreciate all of you being here and hanging out and
Chat
being
was
in
popping,
chat.
man. You guys were going at it.
We have 40, almost 50 comments. 7 reactions, and
That's awesome.
and we've held a solid 7+ viewers. So we appreciate you guys hanging out here with us on Wednesday night. We are talking about going to a 2-hour format, and we're talking about doing a few other things, but we're gonna see what happens next week. Maybe Chris can actually show up next week.
Hey!
Don't take that, Chris. I understand. I'm not a parent, but I understand.
Hey, listen, Matt, love having you.
I
I would
appreciate being
love
here.
to have you back, and let's talk about self-protection. And I think we can honestly tie in, because I like a couple of the comments that I'm seeing. I know we don't have time to read through all of them, but when we started kind of getting into the conversation of diagnosis and mental illness and all that stuff, and how that kind of connects even to that self-protection and a self-preservation conversation, I'd love to have you back.
We'll
and
definitely
dive into that even more,
a
brother.
couple of weeks.
It's
get to
another
that.
deep one, man.
It was great.
It's
No, that
awesome,
was a lot
though,
of
brother.
fun,
That
dude.
was
It was
great.
great.
Yeah, for sure.
Good times.
Thank you guys. Thank everybody for jumping in. I'm Jay, as usual, Aetherial LLC, Aetherial.LLC on all your social platforms. Be looking for the upload on YouTube too.
Girl Dad Gaming, you know where to find me. Obviously, we're here already, so.
Here.
Check us out on YouTube at we are Electric All Wheel. So we're at Electric All Wheel on all your platforms, and then we're electricallwheel.com. And somewhere in the future is the Real Florida Vibes.
The real Florida vibes. Hey, I'm already feeling
He
it.
just dropped a bomb. We'll see you later,
dropped
chat.
it.
Thank you, guys.